Okay, welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's wonderful to see you. We'd like to thank you for joining us today for our Qualified Education Provider meeting. My name is Amanda Pasternak. I am the Chief Program Officer at ACMP, joined by a number of our staff today, board members as well. It's just so great to see you and take time. We like to have these meetings at least twice a year. We're looking at probably doing 3 meetings with you this year because we have so much to share with you and we're excited to keep you informed of the great things that are happening at ACMP. So let's dive in to the agenda. And I'd like to remind you that you are welcome to add questions into the chat at any time during the meeting. We will likely answer them closer to the end of the call, but as you're thinking of them, please add them to the chat. We can communicate via chat throughout the call as well. So today we will welcome you, of course, with several people and share some news with you that is happening with ACMP. We'd also like to give you an update on how things are going with our standard adaptation. Many volunteers are working very hard on that important project, so we'll update you on that today. And our code of ethics, as you hopefully saw in an email yesterday, has been updated several times, so we'll talk a bit about that. But I'm also going to share with you the progress update on the launch of our code of ethics complaint process that is coming in just really a few weeks. So we'll talk a bit about that. We have some great news to share with you about some new products ACMP is going to be rolling out soon that Amanda Schmolt and Alan, our Director of Profession, will be sharing with you. And at that point, we will have time for your questions near the end of the call. Without further ado, I'd like to welcome Amanda Schmolt, our past president on the board, also chair of the profession committee. And so thank you very much for joining us this morning, Amanda.
Thank you, Amanda. Welcome on behalf of the board of directors and with Alexandra Hartman, my co-chair of the profession committee. We're really excited to talk to you about the new things that are coming your way in FY25. We're answering a lot of the questions you've been asking us for the last few years in today's meeting and in the next 2 meetings this year. And we're really excited about what we have to offer to you. So I encourage you all, don't hesitate to reach out to Ali and I if you have any questions after the meeting, or to Amanda or Alan as well. We're really excited to take your questions today and to continue the conversation throughout the fiscal year.
Okay, I think it's my turn.
Yes.
Definitely. Hello, everyone. Nice to see you. The change management committee is thriving. As you can see, here is just a few numbers to show our growth. The number of CCMP we have increased daily, and we see also interest from organizations buying CCMP in bulk or packages for their team. We regularly encourage organizations to visit the QEP registry to find a training provider that fits their needs. And we expect the growth in CCMP numbers to grow even more quickly with the new offering of self-paced training as an option. The standard is now available in 9 languages, and in fact, the number of downloads per month has nearly doubled compared to last year. As you see and offer the training, please remember to remind your students, your learners, the standard is available to download for free. It's available to all the public and is a resource to use for preparation and studying for the exam. We now have 87 qualified education providers, organizations or training providers offering 133 courses together. We are excited to see not only new providers, but existing QEP providers adding new courses to the QEP registry. We would like to welcome the new QEP providers who have joined ACMP over the last few months since the previous QEP meeting we had. Thank you for joining this outstanding community of training providers and committing to promoting excellence in change management. Please say hello in the chat if you have joined us today. We look forward to getting to know you. Okay, just as a reminder, we have a QEP marketing resource. It's a great material or package of material available to you, including the marketing toolkit, ACMP overview PowerPoint, so you can leverage that or some slides from that in your presentations and talk about ACMP, and of course the qualified education provider logo that you can use in your material. So I'm gonna share the link later in the chat, but for now I'm gonna pass it to my colleague Mandy to talk about very exciting opportunities.
Thank you, Alan. Hi, everyone. I am Mandy Dean, Senior Manager of Events here at ACMP, and I'm excited to share some of our upcoming programs with you and some opportunities for you at those events. Please make sure to mark your calendars for our upcoming change management conferences. Change Chicago Architects of Transformation will be held in May 2025 and will explore innovative strategies and practices for leading successful transformations in today's rapidly evolving business landscape. Held over 3 days, this event will feature live, interactive, in-person education from leading global experts across 7 comprehensive educational tracks. Registration will open in November. And please keep an eye on your email as we will open workshop applications for Change Chicago for our QEP workshops very soon. Change Management Global Connect is a virtual event designed to explore cutting-edge strategies and innovation beyond AI. This is an international conference, and it offers unparalleled opportunities to connect with global thought leaders and dive deep into the future of revolutionizing change management. So we hope we'll see you there. We do have a variety of sponsorships available for both Change Chicago and Global Connect. We're really excited to share that over 90% of our conference attendees are pleased with the connections that they make during events with our sponsors and exhibitors. So whether your company's marketing goals are related to thought leadership, attendee giveaways, or meeting with participants in the exhibit hall, we have opportunities for everyone, starting as low as $1,500, but custom opportunities are also available. Send us a note, give us a call, and we are happy to provide a custom package to meet your needs and your goals for your organization. We also have webinar sponsorship opportunities, and I'm really excited to share the great success of our sponsored webinars. We had our first sponsored webinar last month. Webinar sponsorship will allow you to showcase your organization as a thought leader. Our most recent sponsored webinar attracted over 1,000 registrants, and 99% of the attendees indicated that they are likely to recommend ACMP webinars to colleagues. Sponsorship opportunities are available and completely customizable. Packages can be created to include both events and webinars, or just one or the other based on your needs and goals. So please contact our sponsorship team to discuss how to enhance your brand visibility with key decision makers in change management. You can email sponsorship@acmpglobal.org or visit the website listed here on the screen. And we hope to see you at one of these events next year.
Thank you so much, Mandy. So again, I would like to provide you with a quick update about the standard adaptation. QEPs are one of the most important and valuable stakeholders for ACMP. So we just want to make sure to keep you informed about the updates on our journey for adaptation of the standard. Many of you have seen this slide before. This is just high level of our big journey towards the new version of standard, I mean adapted standard. And we are now in close to end of our efforts. I mean the task force, the standard adaptation task force effort to have recommendations for changes on or updates on the standard, and we are close to finish that. And then another project after, of course, review and approvals by committees, the steering committee, and the board. Another project needs to happen, and that's about the update on the CCM exam questions. And that's another big journey that we're going to have next year. So if we just want to summarize what's happening on standard adaptation world, so we started a task force, a team of really highly qualified, experienced, knowledgeable experts in the field in June. And they have been working together hours together to work on a consolidation standard 2.0, if I call it that. And then we will have a finalized standard by December, and it's going to be reviewed for let's say consistency, grammar check, those kind of things by a vendor, an external vendor. The steering committee is going to review, and we will have approval from them, and it's going to go to the board approval, review and approval. And we have the plan to share the adapted standard with you guys first before anybody else, hopefully in April. Okay, back to you, Amanda.
Thank you very much, Alan. It's my pleasure to share with you some updates today from the work that has been underway for the Code of Ethics, as well as developing a complaint process. We've been working on this process for about a year, and I just want to express my deep gratitude for the volunteers that have been a part of building this process. This small group of very dedicated volunteers came from board members, including Amanda Schmolt and Rich Batchelor, who are still on the board, and another 5 individuals who were on the board before, which also includes several who were involved in creating the Code of Ethics initially, which is quite special to have them involved. So as we've been working on this, we've had a lot of conversations with this forming group as we're developing the process of how to receive and handle complaints. We've talked many times in our team, our planning team, about the importance and the value of the Code of Ethics. In doing so, Mark Hildrep, who was a secretary on the board a handful of years ago, and I joined a conversation with Roxanne Brown and Ed Cook, who we talked to them about our Code of Ethics and the value of Code of Ethics. And Roxanne is here with us today, and I wanted to ask her to share some things with you, because in the conversation I had with Roxanne, it was one of those moments where I sat back and I said, this is crystal clear to me now. I can very clearly see how the Code of Ethics are important to people who are practicing change management individually, but also I can more clearly see why it's important to our entire global profession as well. So I'd really like to invite Roxanne to share her story that she shared with me, as it was a specific story on how ethics came to play in a decision she had to make, and how I'd like for you to think, as you're listening to Roxanne share, about any time that you've had while practicing change management that you've been at a fork in the road, which is why we have the picture, where you needed to make an ethical decision, and think about all of those who are in your programs, who you are teaching in your QEP programs about change management, and the fork in the road that will come to them as they're practicing change management, and how we would like for them to show up and make ethical decisions, and how you, as somebody who is guiding them through their learning journey can help inspire them to think differently about ethics and making good decisions as a change manager. So I'd like to introduce Roxanne Brown. Roxanne Brown is not only a QEP now with the change decision, but was the board president as well with the ACMP Board of Directors. So thank you very much for joining and sharing your story, Roxanne.
Thanks, Amanda. Appreciate you asking. This story is likely to be familiar to many of you, if not all of you. If you're doing this work, I feel like at some point you're taken to task. I think maybe it was surprising for Amanda just to hear what a day in a life can be like for people actually doing this work, especially teaching it. When I teach the study group, I go through the code of ethics first, and the usual reaction is annoyance. And then I explain how key it is for us as practitioners to have a code of ethics, because we can be what I often have referred to myself sometimes as a hired gun. In other words, someone who will do change on behalf of a leader without them investing in the process themselves. The story I think you're referring to, Amanda, is when I had been working with an executive team for a while, and I had just started to do more of that deeper impact assessment work. And I had to come back to explain to a leader and their leadership team what I had found. And it was a rookie move on my part that I did not couch it in a way that would not embarrass him. And I found out way too late that that was what in fact I had done. And his visceral reaction at the time was, I need to know who said that. I need names. And I am the lowest, ranking person in the room, filled with a group of people that I work with all the time and respect, but they can crush me if they want to. So I had to make a decision right there. And I said no. It was one of those moments where, again, this may be familiar to you, where I have to imagine that the people that I'm speaking on behalf of or representing in this data that I'm sharing, I want them to, if they were in the room, I want them to feel respected. That just has helped me navigate very, very difficult situations that I think we find ourselves in, these situations that I call morally ambiguous. I think the code of ethics is really important for that reason, and important for us to emphasize. I dare say that each of you has a story like that. And if you don't, you probably will at some point soon, if you continue to do the work. So that's what I wanted to share today.
Thank you so very much, Roxanne. It is helpful to share our stories because we can see ourselves in them and it becomes more real. And I really appreciated that you shared that you start the conversation with your classmates, your attendees, talking about that, and laughed when you said, they're probably rolling their eyes with, wait, why are we doing this? This is very boring and not applicable, but it is. And we need to make sure that we, our understanding of what's in the Code of Ethics, the principles that are outlined there. And if you think about the different professions of the world where you can immediately say, I know what lawyers are held to. I know that they have to be confidential. And I trust that. So if you think about the credibility of that profession, we want that kind of credibility with change management. We want people to look at change managers and say, I know the kind of person they are. I know that I can trust to bring them into my organization to bring about this change because I know who they are. So I hope that you'll take this story, reflect on some things that maybe you have experienced, I would love to hear them if we have more time to keep this dialogue open and future calls, because I think if we hear more stories, we just might all better understand the value that ACMP has provided the profession by creating this code of ethics, and the torch that we have to carry forward. As you all are advocates for the discipline in such a special way, you are on the ground speaking to those who are out there practicing and hungry to learn more. So please consider how important this is as part of your class. Obviously, this is part of the CCNP exam as well. There are questions on there about the code of ethics. So as you're helping people prepare for that, this is a part of your instruction anyway. So moving forward to some practical things, if you can go to the next slide. Alan, you received an email yesterday from Rich Batchelor, our board president, that just outlined some changes that are coming to the Code of Ethics that we wanted to make you aware of. These will be placed on the website December 1st or 2nd. I'm sorry, I can't remember what the date was, but it's that first week of December. We added the changes just where you see the blue to these areas to fold in the DEIB principles that are in our DEIB statement. That way, if someone were to have observed someone who is practicing change management in a way that they have violated something from that DEIB statement, it is now within our code of ethics. So this was written by our legal team as they have experience with these kinds of things. So take a look here. You're welcome to share these changes with your students and become familiar with them. The bottom piece is just the paragraph at the very end of the Code of Ethics. Of course, we had the wrong committee name. So now we are updated there. Okay, you can move forward, Alan. Thank you. So this is a high-level look at what the review process is. Basically, we have this committee. It is now a formed committee of people from several countries. They are all of the members who have signed up to be part of this committee. They're being trained now, come from chapter board positions or former ACMP board of director positions. So this is a group of people who are highly invested in ACMP, who have shown great dedication and are very committed and find the code of ethics very important to the profession as well. We've spent some time with this group talking about the value as well, and we'll continue to keep that conversation going. So here you'll see there is the main piece to really look at is the left side of the screen. That's the review process. So there are there are rules involved with this. We will not take every complaint and investigate every one of them. So there are places where in each of these steps, they could be dismissed. For instance, if they come in, it's initially reviewed. If there's anything incomplete, those kinds of things, the staff would ask for more detail or dismiss the case. The next step is it goes to the full committee for a very high glance over kind of review. What they're looking for is to make sure that it's not a frivolous complaint, that everything is there's nothing missing, and that it is eligible for investigation. If they determine that it is eligible for investigation, both parties are notified that it is going to be investigated. That is when it's assigned to a review team. There are 2 review teams. We have 2 so that in case it does go to an appeal, the second team can do the review. And so the first team, let's call them A, will review all documents from both the person who submitted the complaint, that's the complainant, and the respondent. They'll have all of the evidence to review that's received. They will review it, discuss it, and decide if there was a violation of the Code of Ethics. If there is a violation, they have tools in place. This committee has a handbook with very transparent, clear processes to follow for every investigation. And part of that has a table that they can review to kind of code the violation tier. And then after they understand the violation tier, they'll determine the corrective action. What we've decided as a team is that we don't want to be in the business of slapping wrists, like shame on you, you've done something terrible. That's not what ACMP wants to do. We want to use this as an opportunity to help someone recognize something within themselves, go out and kind of build. Most of the time, I'm thinking most of the time, unless it's very severe, the corrective action might be a learning plan. And the learning plan will be sent to them saying, here's the outcome we want you to achieve. For example, I will take part in activities that will help me better understand how to be more respectful in my role as a change manager, in my role as a change manager. But that person has to go out and find ways that he or she is interested in learning that. It could be through training, reading a book, reading articles, getting a mentor. So it really is up to them. They would submit the learning plan. The group would say that looks great, and they'd have some more time to complete it and then submit their learnings. The idea is that they really learned something, and it's a fruitful process for them. So that's basically our process. There's a lot more detail to it. I will be sharing a website. It'll be launched the first week of December. You're welcome to look through it. It includes the high-level process. It includes the policy that we'll be using. You'll have access to the complaint form, so you can see everything from the webpage. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to myself anytime. I'm happy to share it with the committee. This is a peek at what the webpage looks like. You can't really see it all, but to point out to you, there are several buttons and places that you can click around to review more information about the process. Before I move on, I just want to reiterate something very important about this process. The only people that you can submit a complaint against is someone who is a current member of ACMP or someone who holds their CCMP. So if we do receive a complaint against someone who is neither of those, we will dismiss the complaint immediately. However, if someone is not a member and they submit a complaint about a member, we'll still investigate. So you don't have to be a member to submit the complaint. Our website is meant to be very clear on things to consider before filing, and it clearly shows what the type of complaints we will not review. So hopefully you'll find it clear. I'm happy to take input if you see something that could be cleared up. When we launch that in the first week of December, you can take a look. All right. Well, that was our quick overview of the Code of Ethics and the complaint process coming soon. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you, Roxanne, for sharing your story. And I'm going to pass it back over to Alan, I think, then to introduce Amanda. I can't remember.
For sure, for sure. Yes, thank you so much, Amanda. Yeah, and now our board member Amanda is going to share with you a great journey that the profession committee had for the education roadmap. Amanda, please.
Thanks, Alan. I'm excited to share with you what we're looking at for not just the next year with ACMP, but the next 5 to 10 years in terms of education. We've spent the last few years talking about what's next in the education realm. And in the last year, after a couple of steps in directions that we weren't comfortable with and decided to pull back, we sat down and we put together a roadmap, looking at who are the people that we are serving with our educational offerings, what is it that they're needing from us, and of course, what is it that each of you as our QEPs could partner with us on this journey. So what you see here is not the finished product. This is a better than the draft I drew in Teams whiteboard version of this, but we're going to spend a lot of time over the next year launching the first 2 offerings out of this, as well as talking to you about the other plans that we've penciled in on this 5 to 10 year roadmap so that we can grow together and offer more education about change to change professionals, to students, to those who are curious about change, to leaders and change agents, and all of the enablers that we have throughout the landscape helping with change management. So let's talk first about what we want to be able to accomplish this year against this roadmap. We've key marked 2 key educational offerings for 2025. One is our entry-level certificate, and another is an advanced level certification. These 2 offerings are going to provide aspiring and practicing change management professionals with more options on their growth journey to earn credentials that demonstrate their ongoing commitment to the practice and experience in change management. If we can go on to the next slide. Just as a reminder, our certificate is what we're calling our entry-level offering. And that's because it designates that someone has learned and taken a knowledge assessment. It doesn't necessarily have to be renewed. It doesn't necessarily mean they practiced what they've learned. And we really want to fill a gap for those 0 to 2 year of practitioners, students, people who are curious about change. And we know many of you already have micro courses that actually align with this area of growth. So we know that you as our QEPs are ready to serve this audience along with us. With the certification, we're looking at learning, knowledge assessment, and other requirements such as professional development, experience, renewal, etc. And in looking at what you guys have to offer, we know many of you also have advanced levels of your programs beyond what you offer for our CCMP candidates. So we're looking at these 2 new credentials in addition to what we're offering today with the CCMP. Our CCMP program and requirements aren't changing at this time because of the 2 new offerings. And we've started to work collaboratively on these programs, and the details of the requirements are currently under review. We're going to share more specific details in our next meeting in February in hopes of being able to launch a pilot in late first quarter, early second quarter next year. But we want to emphasize that with all of these programs, there is a place for our QEPs to help educate on change right alongside ACMP. Let's talk a little bit about the benefits and goals of the programs. These are going to help us advance the profession. We want to further strengthen ACMP's position and our QEP's position as a trusted source of professional excellence. We want to help grow and sustain our association, create new pipelines for future practitioners or change-savvy non-practitioners. We want to ensure we're up to date with the global multi-layer credential norms that many of our adjacent professions have. And we want to maximize inclusion by offering programs to all levels of change experience and knowledge. Right now, we're considering our CCMP to be the intermediate offering on this continuum of change education. So I'm going to turn you over to Alan, and he's going to walk you through the high-level requirements for each.
Thank you so much, Amanda. As mentioned earlier, Amanda said the details for the entry-level certificate and advanced certification are still being developed, and we will share that in the next QEP meeting in February next year. However, we want to keep you updated and informed on the current high-level design. For the entry-level certificate, the applicants will gain an understanding of standard through a mandatory overview session, which can be completed by watching an ACMP video that we're going to develop or attending an ACMP live session. They must also complete a short QEP program to learn the fundamentals of change management and also provide a proof of mentorship experience as a mentee, of course. Additionally, completing an application form with required details and submitting the supporting documentation will be necessary. We will be conducting focus groups with various stakeholders and QEPs to help us understand purchasing decision and more. And after this is done, we will be able to share more details about the program design and the roles a QEP will play in the learning component of the certificate. For the advanced level certification, an applicant first must earn and hold a current CCMP certification. So having CCMP is a requirement to apply for advanced level certification. Applicants need to complete training, either a QEP training program or a non-QEP program. All application, all the current QEPs, that all the courses we have will be accepted for this. and it's going to be an opportunity for QEPs to reach that market. They must also complete a mentorship experience as the mentor and submit advanced certification application form. The important point here is that the training, the exact training that has been used already for the CCNP application cannot be accepted again for the advanced level. Similar to CCNP and all non-QEP programs will be assessed each case individually and will fall outside of our pre-approved and accelerated path. That path is exclusively available to QEP certificate holders. Here you see a high-level timeline we have for these two new credentials. We plan to launch both of them by August 2025, by end of this fiscal year. For the advanced certification, we will do a beta test in February, March, and we'll update you on the specific design requirement and your role during the February QEP meeting we will have together. Okay. Previously, I briefly mentioned to focus group. For the entry-level certificate, we are planning to conduct focus groups, and we are currently working on the details. The purpose of the focus group is to gather insight into the needs, preferences, and expectations of the potential participants for our entry-level certificate program. This will help us validate the program's value and understand the factors influencing participants' decisions to apply and pay for the certificate. We will conduct focus groups that include both potential applicants and QEPs. Please consider if you would like to participate in the focus group. I will email you more information in the coming weeks. Okay, over to you, Amanda.
Thank you very much, Amanda and Alan. So we know you must have questions from what we've covered so far. Just shared with you, in particular, 2 new products that ACMP is launching by August of 2025, and some high-level details. But what questions do you have? You can start putting them in the chat, and we can certainly take live questions as well from anything that we've covered today.
April.
Hi there. I did have a quick question. I was wondering if you've thought about pricing on these. Are you waiting for the focus group to think about pricing for these 2 new pieces, or have you been thinking about pricing? I know that sometimes with the training and then the price of the exam, it's a little cost prohibitive for some folks. And so I just wanted to inquire if you've thought about that yet.
Absolutely. We did some early focus groups in San Diego during the conference last year. And we focused on which offerings should we be bringing forward first, where's the appetite. But this round of focus groups is going to take into account pricing, particularly with the entry-level certificate, because we really, we recognize that's going to be focusing on students, on people who don't know yet if change is what they want to invest in. So pricing is going to be a key factor in being able to price them affordably so that we can attract the audiences that we want to attract. But also we want to make sure that they're priced so that all of the cost of putting out these certificates are covered as well.
And we'll also include that question with when we bring QEPs to the focus group as well, to hear what your thoughts are and what you think pricing should be. So we'll take all inputs to make sure we have a good amount of opinions before making that decision. Okay, I'm seeing some things that are showing up in the chat. So the first question is about the standard adaptation. And the question is about the estimated time that the QEPs will need to update courses related to the adapted standard. That's a great question. So I'm just going to start because I'm working on a timeline for how long it's going to take us to update the CCNP exam questions. So as Alan shared, he'll provide the new updated standards so that you can see the changes that were made around April of 2025. And that's as soon as that is available, we are kicking off a new group of SMEs who will be helping us update the exam questions to reflect the changes of the standard. That work, just so you know, and this you may have interest in this work, so I'll just go ahead and tell you what that looks like. There are 3 groups of volunteers. One who helps write new items, those are the questions. The second group tests the questions that have been written because they have to be independent from each other. And then the third group, once we have a psychometrician that evaluates the questions and creates a test, the third group will test the test. And actually, I believe the people who test the test are not people who already have their CCMP. So if you're interested, we'll be able to open up call for volunteers for, I think we're going to be asking for volunteers in January for those task forces. However, so that work will be around April through October or November of next year to develop the new exam. So as you can see, you're going to have at least some time between April and October while the exam is being written. We also then have to do some statistical analysis and then get it into the systems and tested. So all that to be said, you're probably going to have most of the rest of 2025 to update your classes to meet the standard. What I will do is work out a more detailed timeline so that I can give you a look at when the new standard will be published. But it won't be applicable and used by people until we are able to say this is when the new exam or the updated exam will be used and enforced to earn your CCMP. So I think you're going to have between April and November at the very least to update your courses.
And along those lines, we don't expect this is going to require you to overhaul your courses completely. It should be slight tweaks. What we've seen from the job task analysis and the stuff that's come in, we may put more emphasis on certain areas of the standard, but it's not it's not as though we're rewriting it from scratch.
That's a really good point.
I see Sarah's question about duration of training or mentoring for the entry-level certificate. That's one of the things we're looking at in the focus group. We really haven't kind of put a pin in exactly what that would be yet. So we're looking for a lot of feedback from each of you and from some of the members who will be participating as well. Will self-managed also be an option for the 2 new products? Definitely for the entry-level certificate, because we know a lot of those courses that already exist in your arsenal that would be a part of it. We haven't gotten that deep into the discussions on the advanced certificate yet, but we do know the advanced certificate is going to require some mentoring, and that is providing mentoring to other change practitioners. Maybe a coincidence that the entry level is also going to require them to receive mentoring. So we've packaged those 2 together so that we've got a willing army of mentors to meet those entry level certificate needs as they come up. So self-managed is going to be a part of it, but there will be some live components that will be necessary to achieve it that may be outside of the training requirements. Yes, we are looking for volunteers for the focus groups. Alan's going to send out an email to all of our QEPs following this afternoon's meeting. So you guys will be the first to be able to sign up and volunteer. And then we'll be pulling in some members, some potential audience members for the courses to be a part of those focus groups as well. We really want this to be a partnership with our QEPs as we're moving forward. So we want to make sure that we've heard from you and we're building with the needs of you and your business in mind as well. Any other questions?
I'm not seeing any others. However, if you think of them after the call, you are welcome to let us know at any time. We will be staying in touch with you about these new products as we can, and we do look forward to learning from your perspectives very soon. Okay, Alan, would you mind sharing with us next steps for the QEPs? Oh, you're muted.
Sorry. Sure. Like always, this month you will receive our regular email for entering one of your training dates or sessions that is going to happen between January and March next year. As Mandy mentioned, please email sponsorship@acmpglobal.org if you're interested in sponsoring upcoming events or any webinar. The annual member meeting is going to happen in late January 28th and 9th. Please join us and review and use the QEP marketing resources. It's going to be on this slide when I share the deck, but it's also in the chat box. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much, Amanda, for helping me and supporting me. Thank you, Mandy, for joining us. And thank you, all of you, for listening to us and giving us opportunity to share the updates with you.
Thank you. Take care, everyone.